Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's call with L&I Secretary Jerry Oleksiak and UC Benefits Policy Director Susan Dickinson. I'm Teresa Elliott, Deputy Communications Director for L&I. Please submit your questions by clicking the chat icon located in the lower right-hand side of your screen. Please include your name and media outlet followed by your question. In the interest of time, you'll be limited to one question, but time permitting, we'll open up the call for a second round of questions. And you may submit any follow-up questions to us at dlipress@pa.gov, and we'll address them after the call. For your awareness, this call is being recorded. If you do not consent to being recorded, please hang up now. Following the call, a link to the recording will be provided to the media outlets that participated today. Let's get started with comments from Secretary Jerry Oleksiak. Secretary?
Thank you, Teresa, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As always, we appreciate your involvement in these weekly calls. Let me start with the numbers as I do. Since March 15th, we've paid more than $31 billion in unemployment compensation. $6 billion of that is from the traditional UC program. The remaining 25 is from aspects of the CARES Act, the extended benefits program of both Pennsylvania and the federal government, and about $1.8 billion from the lost wages assistance program. Since March 15th, we have almost tripled our UC Service Center staff from 775 employees to our current total of 2,304. And those employees have worked more than 423,000 total overtime hours since March 15th. 97% of eligible claimants who filed for regular unemployment compensation between March 15th and October 17th were either paid or were determined to not be eligible for benefits. And the remaining 3% are pending resolution in various stages of the adjudication process. Since March 15th, we've helped claimants more than 3.9, almost 4 million times through various ways, through our email responses, through our phone calls, through live chat, and more than 1.3 million by virtual assistant. We're expecting that our capacity to answer phone calls and emails will continue to grow. We expect to be at 8,000 calls and 11,000 emails daily that we can respond to by the end of this year. So we're continuing to make steady progress with adjudications, with backdating claims, and with benefits-related fraud, but we're not done, as we say every week, until everyone that is eligible receives the benefits to which they are entitled, which they've earned. Our update on the UC Trust Fund, our balance as of Friday, November 20th, was about $275 million. And this is the official update from the U.S. Treasury. So far, we've borrowed $618 million in zero interest loans. We also have talked before about our work with Ernst & Young, an outside vendor. They are continuing to provide support to our adjudication staff. And after a few weeks of learning and adjusting to our internal processes and systems, they really have begun to make a difference. They've more than tripled their daily output of claims reviewed and fact-finding completed since the project began. And we expect this level to increase in the coming weeks, and this will allow our examiners to write more determinations, which means we'll be able to get payments to eligible claimants more quickly and reduce any backlog there. Let me provide an update on fraud. We continue to hear of new attempts by fraudsters to steal information or unemployment benefits, from claimants. We just issued a press release on Saturday to remind residents to remain vigilant against these scams in light of news reports emerging nationally of fraudsters offering cash rewards to access state unemployment benefits. We want to remind claimants again that the Department of Labor and Industry, we will never contact you and ask for your personal or private information. If you receive a call, email, text, social media message, or other communication seeking information such as your username, your password, or your full Social Security number, it's not us. Do not provide that information. The latest scam involves fraudsters engaging in social engineering to commit identity theft by circulating emails and Facebook posts informing recipients they've won a prize. Then, when the victim clicks on the link, the attacker has them take steps to tie their identity to the attacker's login. L&I does not currently offer assistance to claimants over social media messaging due to the inability to guarantee security and confidentiality. Multiple states, including Pennsylvania, have been inundated with fraudulent unemployment claims, primarily through the federal PUA program, which, as you know, assists out-of-work individuals who are typically ineligible for traditional unemployment compensation. Partly as a result of this issue, there have been questions about the authenticity of a legitimate email that was distributed by Labor and Industry to PUA claimants between 5 and 6 p.m. Thursday of last week, November 19th, from the email sender LIOUCBP-FedP-PUA. That was LI, OUCBP-FedP-PUA. This is the account name for UC at pa.gov. The department sent this communication to all claimants who have emailed UCPA at pa.gov since March 15th as a follow-up during a special review of emails that we were doing. Claimants concerned that this email may be a phishing attempt and are hesitant to reply to the sender can provide the requested information directly to UCPA at pa.gov. Any PUA claimant with outstanding questions or concerns about their claim is encouraged to submit the following information directly to that website, UCPA at pa.gov. The full name as it appears on their claim, the user ID number, the last 4 digits of their Social Security number, their telephone number, the best time to contact by telephone if needed, and a brief description of the issue in their claim. Pennsylvania continues, as we have all along, to work with state and federal law enforcement partners to prevent frauds and scams and to catch these bad guys. More information on scams and frauds, including the warning signs and what to do if you suspect you are a victim, can be found at www.uc.pa.gov. Let me talk a little bit about the future of some of the UC programs that we oversee. Many of us in the department and in the Wolf administration are hoping Congress will take some action on federal pandemic programs that are set to expire on December 26th. L&I has and will continue to advocate for additional support for Pennsylvanians during this difficult time caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, and we know the numbers are increasing. While Pennsylvania has recovered tremendously from its unemployment peak, 2 key federal unemployment programs, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, will be expiring next month, December 26th, unless the federal government acts to extend or replace them. Thousands of Pennsylvania families, as you all know, rely on these programs, and loss of these benefits would be devastating to them and to the economy of the nation and the economy of Pennsylvania. At the agency, we don't speculate about what these future programs would look like, but we stand ready to quickly and efficiently implement an extension or a new program that would provide Pennsylvania families the assistance they need to survive this pandemic and grow the economy. I want to remind everyone also about the Lost Wages Assistance Program. This is the extra $300 per week available through FEMA. And if you think you are eligible, we encourage you to apply right away. We will continue to make retroactive payments for the claim weeks of August 1st through September 5th for the foreseeable future. And when the grant money has been used up, that will be the end of it. So we would encourage you again to go to www.uc.pa.gov to get the information about the Lost Wages Assistance Program. One other piece of information we want to share. We do appreciate everything that all of you in the media have done to help us connect with claimants who need assistance. You've played a very important and valuable role. Right now, the best way for you to help us is to have claimants contact us directly through uchelp@pa.gov. That will be the best way also to help those claimants. We've increased our staff enough that we're now handling claimants who reach out to us in a timely fashion. In fact, the oldest email in the UC Help inbox was received about a month ago, and that's a more complex case that requires time to resolve. Most of them are being resolved much more quickly. The claimants we now see reaching out to the media are either very complex cases that we need to handle directly, or frankly, the cases are not being presented to journalists accurately. By law, we are not allowed to provide information about a claimant's case to anyone other than the claimant. That means if a claimant gives you a description of what they think is going on with their case, but something else is really happening, we can't work through you to get the claimant the information they need. It also means that we can't correct the record with you, and you could be reporting something that's very different than what's actually happening. As an example, some individuals in the news during the pandemic have been in the following situations where they were publicly saying the department was not communicating or acting on their claim. But here's what was happening. They were not filing biweekly claims all along, or they stopped filing for benefits and thus payments stopped. They were reporting too much in earnings from part-time work each week to qualify for a benefit payment. Their regular benefits were denied, and the person was told they're welcome to file for PUA, but they had not. They provided the incorrect address, and no mailings were making it through to their home. They gave us fraudulent self-employment invoices, and their claim was denied. They had their PUA weekly benefit amount reduced to the minimum of $195 because they did not provide proof to support a higher rate. Their payments were issued, but they did not activate their debit card in order to access the funds, or they did not complete the initial application for benefits. We are asking that you direct claimants to uchelp@pa.gov, or the hotline or the chat, where an LI staff member can work with them directly. Again, we know there are still some delays, but those delays are decreasing significantly, and we are reaching more and more claimants in a more timely fashion. We're also doing this for the claimant's benefit because fraudsters are posing as people who are trying to help claimants and then stealing their personal information. By having one email, one phone, and one chat, that's cutting down on the opportunity for fraud. So please, if you hear from a claimant who has questions, the best way to help them is to have them contact us directly. Thank you for your attention, and Susan and I will now take your questions.
Thank you for those comments, Secretary Oleksiak. Now we're moving into the Q&A portion of today's call. Again, if you have any questions for Secretary Oleksiak or Susan, I invite you to submit them using the chat icon in the lower right-hand side of your screen. Please make sure to include your name, your media outlet, as well as your question. Our first question today comes from WTAE's Paul Van Alstall. What is the status of the backlog of nearly 70,000 regular UC claims awaiting final determination? Why is it taking so long? And when will these be resolved?
For the non-monetary determinations, which is what you're referencing, that was what the Secretary was addressing in his Ernst & Young update. Ernst & Young has been the ones helping us trying to get together the information about each claim so that our examiners can then make a faster determination. So it was, I think, about a month or a little over a month ago that we onboarded them, and they received some training at first. As the Secretary mentioned, they've now tripled their output. It took a little bit of a learning curve for them to get up to speed, but now that they're faster, we expect our claims examiners to be able to start issuing faster determinations. Once we got some good look at the first work that Ernst & Young was doing, we were able to give them feedback about what they were doing wrong and how they can improve. And now they've taken that to heart, and their work is a pretty good work product. So they're able to do that legwork for us, and we'll be able to soon start, outputting a lot more determinations than we had been with their help.
And Susan, if I could, I believe the number isn't 70,000. It's now under 50,000 in the high 40s. So we've made significant progress in decreasing that number. Is that correct?
I don't know the exact number, but yes, that would make sense because that's 70,000 was where we were at several weeks ago. So there would be a newer figure.
Right, and those numbers have gone down in each of the last 5 weeks that I've checked. We can get the exact number and let people know what that is. Thank you.
Ashley Bishop from WPXI wants to know, can you speak about any new PUA scams being sent via email to people that look like they're coming from your department? Would you ask for PUA claim numbers, user IDs, or the last 4 digits of claimant's social security number?
Those particular things we might ask about. The secretary had mentioned the email that recently went out from our PUA email system, and that was, to clean up old messages. It seems that staff were, as they were looking through older messages and trying to help claimants, just about every message they hit was someone who's already been helped. And so it was kind of, wasting their time to go through all of these messages of people who've already been helped. So we were cleaning out old messages and pretty much telling individuals, if you receive this, we think that your situation is resolved, but if you need something further, just reply to the email. And of course, understandably, they were concerned that maybe it was fraud and maybe if they replied, they'd be giving bad information. But in that case, all they really have to do then is just email ucpua@pa.gov a second time. They can just use a clean email and email us for assistance. It just seems like a lot of individuals who've been emailing us, throughout the last several months, they've already been helped, so we did not want to spend time on those. We'd rather get fresh emails where we know that someone still does have an outstanding issue and that they still need help from us so that we could make sure we're tackling those cases and that we get those resolved as opposed to spending time on cases that have already been resolved.
Bucks County Courier-Times' Joe Chevalier asked, is this new fraud attempt, is there any reports of it happening in Pennsylvania? And is it targeting PUA or general unemployment benefits?
Some of the fraudulent emails have been Pennsylvania, some have not. We've received regular updates from our national partners, also from the U.S. Department of Labor. There's multiple sources where we'll get alerts that something's happening. The most recent one I don't think was in Pennsylvania, where we had someone who was using Facebook links. We did have one in the past, but the most recent one was not from Pennsylvania. There was one from Pennsylvania where an individual was being asked to identify themselves because they've won prize money. That one is definitely, that's not us asking for that. So it is a mixture. It seems like we're being notified of new fraudulent scams all the time. So we try to make sure that everyone else knows about them. The fraudsters are trying different things all the time. So we want to make sure that everyone stays informed. Whether or not it is a Pennsylvania issue, it's better, if we just share everything, and that way, hopefully we can prevent someone from getting duped and giving up information that they shouldn't be giving.
Kristen Johansson from KYW asked, with many businesses closing again because of the pandemic, at least in Philadelphia, should those who filed for unemployment claims back during closings in March reactivate their claims? And if they used all their unemployment benefits this year, can they file a new claim?
If an individual does have an open claim or a claim that was filed within the last year, then they should reopen it if they're unemployed again. At this time, if they have run out of benefits, there is still a period of time of PEUC benefits available. The Secretary mentioned that December 26th is the last week that PEUC benefits are available. So individuals, once they use up their regular unemployment funds, they can then move on to a PEUC claim. Once that program ends, the state extended benefits program that we refer to as EB is still in effect right now, as long as the unemployment rate is still a little high. So that will be continuing into January. So we might see individuals who move from regular unemployment straight to extended benefits if there is no extension of the PEUC program. So there is still a little bit of a lifeline left for them, before they run out of benefits completely in the absence of a CARES Act extension or new legislation. So we have, individuals who they'll have a varying amount of benefits available to them depending on their situation. But they will at this time have some other extension to go to, and hopefully we'll keep our eyes on the federal government and see what they might enact.
Next, we have Joe Napsha from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Does LNI have data on unemployment benefits by county and the number of claimants per county?
I do know that we have county information. It's on our PA WorkStats website, and I would imagine Press, you could probably get that out to them. I don't know the exact address of our website, the WorkStats specific website.
Michaela Drapak from ABC 27. What would happen to people waiting on benefits through PUA and PEUC if they don't get them before they expire at the end of the year? Will they still get them?
Generally, if we are still looking into someone's eligibility or still making a decision on something, yes, we will. People are made whole once we do make our decision, as long as they're filing biweekly claims like they should be, and they're doing what they need to do. Then once we are done with our evaluation, we will be able to make retroactive payments. We are clarifying with PUA some information with the federal government just to make sure, only because it's a special program. It's unlike the other programs because it is a disaster program. It has new rules and different rules. So we want to make sure that one, we are okay to set up new claims after the new year if someone should have had a new claim. But in general, as long as we're still working on something, the individual is not going to be penalized for that. We'll be able to set up their benefits, set up their claim at the time when it's needed, and we decided that they are eligible and they can get these benefits.
Lauren Rosenblatt from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says that some states are reporting high numbers of claimants having to pay back some of the benefits they receive because of overpayments. Is that happening in Pennsylvania? And if so, how many claimants are being impacted? And final question, how much money do they have to return?
So overpayments are a natural, regular part of the unemployment programs. If you go to the U.S. Department of Labor's website, they actually do have a lot of information and stats about this. And for Pennsylvania, they do only collect stats. We do only keep stats for regular unemployment, which are available on their website. We have, individuals overpayments can happen for a variety of reasons, and there are thresholds that the federal government sets up for us. I believe 10% is what they aim for. That our improper payment rate is what they refer to it as. Our improper payment rate has to be less than 10%. Prior to the pandemic, Pennsylvania was under 10%. We've been having a good rate for a while. So I don't actually know what it is now. A lot of that, the ways that they measure that, a lot of that was suspended throughout the pandemic. So the U.S. Department of Labor and the states didn't really have any numbers on that for a very long time. They're kind of getting into the swing of things now. So they're restarting our benefit measurement evaluations again. And so we should have numbers on that. It's a quarterly type of an evaluation. So in the near future, there probably will be numbers. But, USDOL definitely has the latest and greatest information on what benefit accuracy measurement is and how that affects, our numbers. And it gives the full story about what each state is doing regarding improper payment.
Thanks, Susan. It looks like we're now entering our second round of questions. If you have any additional questions at this time, please submit them via the chat icon. We have a follow-up question from Joe Chevalier at Bucks County Courier-Times. How many PUA and PEUC program beneficiaries are there?
That I do not know exactly. We keep stats based on continued claims and initial claims. So we will know like initial claims numbers and be able to say how many claims were filed each week. Same thing with the ongoing benefits when people are filing weekly or biweekly. Those are the stats that we keep since we're, there are federal programs and the unemployment, compensation area is generally a federally funded area. We keep the stats that they need for their reporting, and they use those particular stats. They actually do not use number of individuals exactly, so that's not something that we produce for them. So we have all of our stats on our website about how many claims are out there. And when it comes to number of people, I mean, you can kind of get a sense from there, but there's no exact figure available out there.
WTAE's Paul Van Alstall asks about how many of the backlog in UC claims can be attributed to difficulties determining reasons for job separation, and why is this so difficult?
Job separations are usually a very big reason for needing non-monetary determinations. A lot of times, the difficulty is just in reaching the parties, having everyone get back to you on time and getting full information. A lot of times, the different parties are giving you different information, and then you have to go back and forth between them and get rebuttal on why their stories don't match, and try to get down to what the actual information is. Of course, it is hard to get a hold of people anymore, especially if you're trying to call via phone, because if they don't recognize your number, they won't pick up. So that alone, you would think it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it really is. A lot of times, claims, they would go a lot faster if we were able to easier get a hold of people and be able to resolve their issues a lot more quickly to get the information we need. We also find that a lot of times separations, sometimes they don't. Not only do they not match in their information, but they really don't have the full information. One common thing for us to see is that someone may have been discharged or let go, but they weren't really told the reason why. And then we have to go back to the employer and find out why. The employer may have told them one thing when really they wanted them discharged for a whole other reason, but they were trying to either spare their feelings or something, so they didn't really tell them the truth. Not, on purpose. They weren't trying to do bus or anything like that. They were well within their rights to just handle the situation they wanted to. But it turns out with the claimant having very different information than what actually happened. So once you go back and forth and you talk to the parties, you can kind of figure out what happened on that last day. Why was that person unemployed after that day? Why was it not resolvable any other way? And that's really what the point of adjudication is for, is to get down to the bottom of that and then be able to make a decision on the claim one way or the other.
Lauren Rosenblatt from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette asks, how low would the unemployment rate have to drop to stop Pennsylvania's extended benefits program?
There are different triggers in our law, and it looks at two different things: the total unemployment rate and the insured unemployment rate, and it has to be one or the other that drops below a certain level. We can look that up for you, and press could send that back out to you when we have the information. We'll check with our stats people, because they work with that all the time, so they'll be able to tell us pretty quickly.
Michelle Drapak from ABC 27 is asking for a clarification. She wants to know, what did you say Ernst & Young has been helping you with, and when were they brought in?
They were brought in about a month ago, a little over a month ago, I think, is when they started their training with us. They had about a week of training, and then they started the actual work, in which we were then closely looking at it to give them feedback and try to see what they learned from training, what they had to improve from training, etc. So they are helping with the fact finding on claims with issues. So just as we were talking about, separations, for example, why are separations so hard? Why do they take so long? It's those type of issues that they're helping with, to reach out to those parties and gather the information. And that way, our examiners, who are the ones who have to make the determination as to whether someone gets paid benefits or not, all of the legwork is done for them, and all of the information is provided to them. So all they have to do is review the information and make a decision. They don't have to necessarily reach out to the individuals, leave messages, wait for messages to get back, etc. That's what Ernst & Young is there to do. They're doing the heavy lift part of it, and then they will be able to give the information to our examiners. Now, until they refine themselves even more, it may be possible our examiners may review the information, find that they need something else, and they'll have to reach out anyway. But we're hoping that's not the case, and we're hoping that improves over time, so that our examiners can just use the information provided to them and be able to make a sound decision based on that without having to reach out again. So they're helping us almost assembly line fashion, to start the adjudication process and take it most of the way through, and then just give it to our examiners to do the official decision on the back end.
WPXI's Ashley Bishop asks, how much did it cost, or how much was the contract cost to bring Ernst & Young on board?
I don't have that figure available. I don't know if you do, Susan, but we can certainly get that for folks. It went through the
I'd want to look
process.
it up.
Okay, Ashley, please submit that question to us at dlipress@pa.gov, and we will get your response after today's call. And our final question for today is also from Ashley Bishop. Oh, sorry, one more just came through. When will the new UC system be launched? The one was supposed to be launched in October.
We are continuing to make great progress in getting that system up and ready. We work with the vendor, our own staff, IT staff, regularly to our BenMod, it's the Benefits Modernization Program, our advisory committee. So we hope to have something to announce soon. But again, we're still watching our numbers. We don't want to do it when we are in the midst of the kind of situation that we were in before. So we're watching it carefully. We are making progress. We'll be announcing something soon.
Okay, next we have Joe Chevalier from the Bucks County Courier-Times. Was Ernst & Young brought on to reduce backlogs, and who was doing the checks before?
The short answer is yes, but Susan, you can go into the detail.
Sure. Yes, Ernst & Young is here to help reduce the backlog by doing that legwork that the examiners would otherwise be doing. When they would get a case that has to be resolved and we have to decide if someone is eligible for unemployment or not, they used to do it start to finish. They would have to receive the assignment. They would have to then contact the different parties. We have federal requirements as to how long we have to let people give them until they can contact us back. So we will give them their deadlines. We will wait for them to call. They call the last day and they give us conflicting information. That starts the process all over again while we reach the other party. We go back and forth through all of this information gathering. And then it comes to the point where they have the information they need and they can move forward. So then they have to look through, they have to make a decision, they have to issue the decision, they have to make sure it's recorded in our records. And then they have to make sure that that gets mailed out to someone, which usually our system takes care of, but occasionally there might be reason for someone to do manually. So there is a whole process. An examiner is a hard job to have, and it really helps to be able to take all of that front end legwork off of the examiners so that they could focus on just issuing the determinations. So that's the goal of having Ernst & Young here to help us, is to do that legwork.
And those examiners are,
sorry.
Excuse me, Teresa. Those examiners are the examiners are L&I employees. So we worked with their representatives to make sure that we were doing this in a way that was going to be consistent with our labor contracts. It was going to help our claimants, and we've got a lot of cooperation on that. And this might be a good place to remind folks that those backlogs are the result of not just record numbers, but record-shattering numbers of claims. And it has taken that much time to, in addition to the usual kinds of delays that there can be with these adjudications, it's taken this much time to get to the point where we are now.
And one additional follow-up question. The backlog reference is the 3% of people still waiting for word on a claim, correct?
That is correct. That's traditional unemployment claims, and that's the adjudication process that we're talking about.
Okay.
And that number, Teresa, one more piece to that. That number has been about 3%, but the actual number has been declining, and that's because it's a moving. The dates move. So I forget what date. I think it was October 27th that we're caught up to. So we're still working on those claims from October 27th till now. But I want to check that date. I know I said it at the beginning, but it's about 5 weeks maybe to a month.
Yeah, I was going to say it's usually a month back, because
Right.
that's beyond that, that's when normally, a claim is getting a little lengthier. Normally within a month is our normal time prior to the pandemic to being able to resolve a claim.
And while that 3% has been consistent, the actual number has declined from the 70,000 we talked about to, I know it's under 50 now.
Okay, and that's all the time we have for today's call. Please email our communications office at dlipress@pa.gov with any additional questions. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please stay well.
Thank you all.
Thank you.